Well, hey everyone, and welcome to the Jeep Life Podcast Live Edition. I'm Jeep and Terry, and man, I almost didn't come on tonight. Um, my back is hurting. I threw it out over the weekend, and it's yeah, it's not good, and so I thought maybe I'll deal with the pain a little bit, but no, I said I need to see my people. I need to get on here to kind of get through my week. And you guys are my escape. I know that sounds stupid, but you're still my escape. Um, I think it's a good thing. I'm gonna take just a minute and go share out the fact that I'm on and share that with people. Um, um, yeah, tonight's topic is going to be a lot of fun. Uh, Tell me if there's anything you've changed your mind about in the Jeep life. Nick, I believe you are first. How about it? There's no prize for that. You don't get any kind of special treatment. um, yeah, I just shared it out, so maybe we'll get a few people. Hey, what's up, Adam? Oh, my good friend Jamie. Sending you hugs, buddy. Yeah, it's been one of those days. It just I Monday. I mean, every day of the week is challenging for me, but Mondays, getting off work and just screaming just as fast as I can to get here. Um, it's hey Kate. Yeah, when I get off work, man, it's like a sprint to the Jeep. Drive as fast as I can. Um, do what I can and shovel down some reheated food or whatever it is, and then get down here and set the studio up. And I walked into my studio. The desk was crazy. Hey, what's up, Sandra? Hey, how we doing? Um, there's my friend that decorates his Jeep better than anybody at Halloween. Um, yeah, Monday's blow, and then it was literally my threw my back out this weekend, and it's hurting, and to sit in a chair. I've been doing that all day, and to sit in a chair to do the show, I was like, man, I can't do it. And then thought popped in my head, man, I just enjoy the time I have with the listeners and my friends on here, and so I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. I kind of had I put together a little list of show topics, kind of to so if I don't have something, I can always go back to that and kind of throw it out there. Um, and and so tonight's show is no different. So I went back to my list and I said, what do we got? And I looked down through, and here's one I haven't done before. Um, these are things I've changed my mind about in the Jeep life. And I want you as my listeners to think about that. And, as we're going along, comment on the things, or if when we get to the end, maybe you have something that you've changed your mind about. Um, all right, I'm going to give a couple more minutes, let people get on here. I just shared it out. If you want to share it out, see if we can get a few more people on here, that'd be awesome. Can't figure out why my microphone moves around on my stand. It's got a little wobble. The stand itself is secure, and then the top part has a little wobble. I can't figure that out. I promised myself I was going to look at it over the week, and then I didn't. And I can't seem to tighten it up in any way. So maybe it's time for a new mic stand. I think I have a second one of these around. Maybe I'll swap it out. Yeah, Jamie, true. Jeep life doesn't always have to be off road wheeling. Jeeps are for everyone. It's a lifestyle choice, whether you will or not. 100%. And, that's one of the reasons I founded the club that I did, and the way that we chose to do that is so we could spend time with each other. Definitely the nut behind the mic is making it not work. No doubt about it. All right. I'm going to go ahead and hit that button and get started. And, hopefully we have a lot of people just join in. Alan, what's happening? My good friend, we need to get out on the trail, do something. I actually thought about you and Kim both did pictures of Snowbank at the your business, and I was like, man, I'll stop in and I'm going to do the same thing and just send the picture to you. But I ran out of time, and yeah, who knows? Maybe that happened. Yeah, Adam, I like the new audio setup, and I'm ready to bring in guests through it, see how it works. But yeah, I need to figure this. I've got a dozen mic stands, for different things, boom arms, whatever, and they're all packed away, and I need to get them out and do this. But this one's kind of rickety. It would have been hilarious, Alan. I just thought about it. I watched you guys go back and forth a little bit on the Facebooks, and I was going to jump in there and surprise you with that, but I didn't. All right, I'm going to get it rolling here. I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to press that button. Make sure I have the right buttons programmed. Yeah, I think that's right. Let's see. We'll see how it goes. Well, hey, everyone, and welcome to the Jeep Life podcast. We're that podcast. We celebrate that Jeep life, and welcome back to another episode of the Jeep Life podcast. We're going to talk trail builds, stories, just about everything. All right, we're starting our new season. We're four episodes in. We're at episode 704. Who knew we're going that far? I want to thank Armorlight for their continued support of the Jeep Life podcast. Tonight's episode, And for the next few months is sponsored by the New Jersey Jeep Invasion, hosted by Blinker Fluid Productions. We got a deal going with them to promote this show. It's my favorite show of the year. It's the 13th annual New Jersey Jeep Invasion, and it's going to go July 10th through the 12th in Wildwood, New Jersey. And man, you want to head there and have a good time. It's parking on the beach. It's hanging out with the best people on the planet. And so you want to get there, and they're going to help us get there and make it happen. Um, it's the sponsorship for this time period is basically every month we're giving away a 3-day pass to get there. Uh, we had a December winner, we had a January winner. We're going to have a February winner coming up. Let's give it a couple weeks, I think. And the way to enter, the way to get on there, is to comment, like, share, give some sort of interaction with us, and your name gets put in there. If you've already done that, your name gets put into the next month anyway. It's it is, you know, Eric, you're right. It is a 50% Tyree so far this season. We need to get some more employees in there. I bet we can work on that. But um, yeah, it is a blast. It's a good time to be had by all. And so our thanks to Jamie and Allison for their continued support of the Jeep Life podcast and for the partnerships that we've created. And it's been wonderful. I'm your host, Jeep and Terry, and I'm looking forward to spending a few minutes with you, our listeners. And I've got a couple announcements tonight. And the Jeep Life podcast, this is huge. This is big. I can't even believe it. As I'm reading my notes, I can't even believe it. The Jeep Life podcast is going to be joining the PowerTube TV family very soon. We have finished all the paperwork. We've done everything. We have the websites up, the bio, and the streaming sites. So I'm really, really, really excited. This is just a big chance to bring our content to a larger audience. We've got more details to come on, they're basically going to be airing our episodes there. I have given them more than 30 episodes. I think it's going to be a weekly content. We're still working out all the details, and maybe at some point we'll figure out how to stream it live. But I think it's a lot of I've been trying to work this out for a couple years now, and they've been asking for me to join up, and I didn't have the bandwidth to finish all the details, and I was able to over holiday and get everything right, and so I'm loving it, um, and I'm excited about it. I just can't believe. And so, yeah, there is a huge Jeep Invasion, Jeep Life podcast announcement coming soon. It's going to be announcements, and I like it. Things are going great here at the Jeep Life podcast for season 7, and I appreciate you, Jamie, for reminding me of that. The next announcement is next week's episode is going to feature the team at Steer Smarts. We know and love their steering components, and they want to talk about great new products here on the Jeep Life podcast. And I know that I run ends on mine because they're baller. They're strong. They're great. Hey, Steve, my kid, full out, Steer Smarts, Yeti HD steering components all the way around. So I can't wait to have them on the show. We've been talking about it for a couple years now, and the timing and everything just works out great. So we're going to have them on next week. So make sure to tune in for that. How can you, our listener, support us? The easiest way is just listen, right? Just listen to whatever you need. Here starts the Steer Smarts love. Yeah, Tim, Jamie, yeah, it's some good stuff for sure. Um, I ran them on mine before I did all my upgrades, and I still have the Steer Smarts ends because they're basically bulletproof. They're solid. But anyway, I was going, how can you support us? And you're doing it right now. If you're listening, you're starting your life of support. And then in addition to actually listening, come on our live. Watch us do what we do live, and then you can also go back and listen to the edited version that's made for audio. That's not quite um, as fun and spontaneous, but it is still a very good version. As a matter of fact, it's the way I consume our show is audio only. But I think it's great that we do this video and we do the live. So that's the other thing. Come on the live, comment, and be a part of it. It makes all the difference when we started doing the comments and bringing people on live and interacting that way. It just makes it way more fun for me and the team. It's just great. Next is you could send us an email. Tell us your thoughts on the show, follow up on the show, ask for stickers, show topic suggestions, or guest um, interactions. Send us an email, info@jeeplifepodcast.com. I usually try to get back to people. I think I owe an email or two, uh, but that's a huge thing for us. The next is wherever you are listening to me right now, wherever you get your podcast, go and leave a review. I know that Adam left a review and is our most recent Patreon supporter, and that so appreciative of that. It means the world. But leaving a review is huge for us. And if I could actually figure out my technology, I would go and read that review from from I think it's let's see what. Yep. All right. So Adam on the Facebook's great relaxing podcast that covers all kinds of Jeep topics, and it's just a fun listen. Man, I hit it out of the park. I hope I'm not too relaxing. I hope I don't put you guys to sleep. But I appreciate that so much, being able to read that review and get it. So wherever you get your podcast, go and leave us a review. That's another great way to help us. Um, and then the Patreon support, where you financially help us through it all. And we've 3 levels of that. Very small commitments, and monthly. The sport level is $3 a month. So hard level is $5 a month, and for our Rubicon, our strongest and most wonderful listeners, $10 a month. And we appreciate every Patreon listener that we have. It's huge, and I appreciate it. But those are the ways you can support us. All right, now we come to our main event, our show topic, and it's something that I had on my list, and I said, you know what, I think it's going to be fun to kind of talk about, and things that changed my mind in Jeep life. I had multiple Jeeps prior to Kylo, 4Low Kylo, and they were not special builds. They were just Jeeps. Literally the most basic of basic Jeeps, and I kind of like that. I didn't do anything special. I didn't off hardcore off road them. They were my Jeeps. They were my freedom vehicles, and I love that. But when I bought Kylo, I kind of had a vision board, if you will. I had a Jeep that I had as my background on um, my computer, and that was kind of my vision for what I wanted Kylo to kind of grow up to. And it I'm not going to say it was the wrong thing, but I've passed that, and but it was a good way to kind of get things started. So I really like that idea. But one of the first things that um, that I thought about was, what will my tire situation be? When I bought Kylo, it was a stock sport on 16-inch Steelies, like the most basic um, tire, a wheel that you could get. I mean, it was a 16-inch Steely. Who even does that anymore? Um, I don't think you can get it anymore as an option. And there were very very small, I think 28 or 29-inch basic all terrains. Nothing of any substance. But I'm like, man, I really want to get to a 33. It'll be perfect, and I'll get a little lift, and I'll go with that. So my mind was 33s. It'll be perfect. Um, and then I realized that you know 35s were the new 33s, and then it became okay. In order to go to 35s, maybe I need new gears because I had the 321s. I mean, they were the stock gear set. I don't, pushing around a 35-inch tire might be a little challenging. Um, Maybe I need to upgrade my steering, my brakes. Money, money, money. It's going to be my money pit. Um, but that's kind of where I got started with it, and bigger tires are awesome, but they're not just tires. In order to put those tires on there, that's a whole lifestyle commitment. That's definitely upgrading other components that, kind of hadn't really planned on. So once I started, the eye opener, right? I remember when I switched to 35s, I had a basic 2.5-inch lift, and that's kind of where I started with that, right? All right, next thing that I changed my mind about in the Jeep life. I'm going to keep it simple. Just a small lift and some all terrains. Um, and I kind of went 2.5, and that was a nice size lift to start with. And then, I did have 32.5-inch tires for a little bit, but I definitely wanted to go up to those 35s. So I needed a little more leg room, and on those 35s and that 2.5-inch lift, I had some rubbing going on. It just all of a sudden, things are going on. You've got the 35s, and you want to kind of bump up a little bit, and all of a sudden you're out measuring drive shafts, at 2 a.m., going, "Can I do this? Maybe I need just a little thing," and then it's one more thing forever, right? So for me, changing my mind about keeping it simple, it got a little more complex each and every time. And I still look at my Jeep, and I'm like, all right, it's kind of a simple thing. It's red, and it's got some modifications, but that's it. And then I started looking at all the details, and it's very quickly um, kind of turned into a huge project, right? I've been building it for 8 years. It's no longer simple. All right, change my mind the next time. Cheap parts are fine. I have since changed my mind on that in just about every way. The early mindset, is kind of, oh, I can get this bumper off of Amazon real cheap. It's got four stars, um, and the the current mindset with that is that kind of was a mistake, right? Um, I think the bumper I have on my Jeep right now is bumper number 4 or 5, and um, it 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 just kept getting more complex because I have different needs. I started out with a real cheap bumper that the first tree that I hit on Timbertown um, left a dent and chipped off the powder coating, right, and it started to rust. Um, but it kind of all came on with that. That's kind of how it kind of developed. And so Josh, I this kind of goes back to the one before. You're running 37s on your JT Sport with the stock 3.73 gears. Uh, yeah, so 7 mile commute each way to work, and you only travel when you go wheeling or to Maine Beach. But yeah, 37s. Well, you maybe need to go up to a little bit bigger gear set. Yeah, you've been there with the measurements and trying to imagine what would fit. Yeah, it's for real. And Jamie, you're right. Just empty every pocket. Um, then you realize there is wind noise with the top down. So, all right, Roy, you kind of lit it right into my next topic. Is I've changed my mind about my Jeep audio. Um, when I first started, I thought, it doesn't matter because I'm in a Jeep with a soft top. It doesn't matter. And kind of how this podcast started is it started with me writing a blog about my audio woes, and starting with the most basic system. Um, I I was very disappointed and didn't realize um, how big of a deal bad audio was going to be. I'm a musician. I have a background in classical music, and I'm a heavy metal dude all the way. Um, and Tim, I'll come back to you because you play into this a little bit with the audio part. Uh, I started and I just replaced the speakers because I thought, that's a good place to start. I know these speakers are crappy cardboard speakers and they're awful. The stock speakers from Jeep, awful. But it didn't really make a difference because the head unit was not great. And so I upgraded that with a Pioneer head unit, and because it was inexpensive, I mean it was like a 5-inch touchscreen. It was definitely an upgrade from what I went through. Um, and then I met Roy and the team, Colin and everybody Alpine, and realized, man, that's kind of the way to go. And then I met Tim, and building the speaker box, the sub box for the tailgate. Um, man, I really that just impressed me. So I'm like, all right, I can do good audio in a soft top down environment. And so it just went straight from there and um kind of started going, and now I have an Alpine deck with two subs and a sub and 2 amps, and then 8 really really good speakers, and uh, the clarity is unreal. And for me, when I put the top down, I just want to be able to hear my music. It doesn't have to be extremely loud. But it is. It's comfortably loud, and so I guess that's a mindset that I definitely changed my mind on. Okay, I love Timbertown. Actually, I in the the same holds true. There's some places out in Fern Ridge they are just really tight, and I enjoy that because it shows me how much I can drive and kind of where not to hit and everything. Um, yeah, the Alpine, yeah, Alpine all the way. The JL Alpine with sub is pretty nice. But I definitely have the aftermarket Alpine sound, and it's really really nice. Comfortably loud, yeah. I do like it to be loud. I like to hear my music clear. It can't be just loud. It has to be loud and clear, and Alpine does that for me. All right. So speaking of comfortably loud, one of the things that I thought was comfort really doesn't matter. Now, I'm buying a Jeep. Comfort doesn't matter. It's supposed to be a rough ride. Um, but I think it's important. I travel a lot in my Jeep. I've crossed country multiple times in my Jeep, and actually, I think it is comfortable. But I want to be able to hear my passenger talk. My brother joined me for a drive, and I picked him up in Memphis, I believe. No, I picked him up in Nashville. Picked up my brother in Nashville, and he was riding out to part of the way to California with me, and I dropped him off in Phoenix. He had brought he's a pilot. He had brought his soundproof headphones because he had had a Jeep in college and remembered how loud it was, and he didn't want just that hum of the soft top. But he was blown away how quiet mine was. By that time, I had put the twill top on, and I had, I believe, I had Armalite in my Jeep, and so it was extremely quiet. Um, and for me, quiet added to the comfort level, right? How did it ride? At the time, it was a very, it was 2.5 inches, and it was nice, but it wasn't overly aggressive, and that also made to drivability. And from that point on, I never wanted to change the drivability part of it. I never wanted to change the comfort level of it. If I went with a taller lift, it needed to be a solid one that I could be comfortable driving. When I think about the RK kit that I have now with some of the best, you know, control arms and everything, it rides doesn't like ride like a 3.5 inch, 4 inch lift with 37s. It rides extremely nice. The steering is very responsive, especially for what it is. What's up, Jason? Um, the next thing that caused me to change my mind is I don't need a winch. All it takes is once of needing a winch and not having it. I think early on, I think I was out with Lexi, and we were we were somewhere up in Jim Thorpe or something, and we get out on some ice, and it crushed underneath us. And I at this time I was not very experienced, and I started panicking because we were in a little bit of deep, cold, frozen, cracked ice kind of water. And I'm like, oh, if I had a winch, that tree right there, I could tie off to it and pull out, and it'd be just fine. I didn't even think, put in four low and and do those sorts of things. I was just, all right. I don't need to be out here by myself. We weren't doing anything big, but it was something that we we wanted to do. We were just out playing, but it was kind of a little eye opener for me. Um, and at that point, I wanted to be the person that people could rely on. I wanted to make sure that I had the right recovery gear, that I had that winch. Because you don't buy a winch for yourself, or maybe you do, but I wanted to buy it for my friends who make bad decisions, and um, I wanted to be the smart guy in the room, right? And so that was my change of heart with that. I don't need a winch. Well, I do, and I want to have one with me. Um, so that was kind of my philosophy there. Um, Second is, we talked about planning your build, and I know that we talked about that a little bit earlier with Sean on the screen as he was listening. But for me, it was about practicality, and their bling mods were pointless. And I am now, everybody has their own thing to do with their Jeep. I But once you add one aesthetic kind of modification on how it looks, um, you want everything to kind of balance out. If you've got this set of lights, then you need this, and it just keeps adding up. And for me, functionality is always going to be more important than the style. Even though my Jeep has a very distinctive red with black accent style, um, you aesthetically, I like the way my Jeep looks, and I like adding things just because of the way it looks sometimes. And I I get it. I'm not going to critique someone that does that puts bling on their Jeep or does whatever they want to. For me, I think it's it, function leads, but style should be a consideration. And that's kind of where I'm at with that. And it was a change of mind. Um, for my part, I chose to change to larger tires and didn't think it through, nor did I seek advice. Um, Now the differential's damaged and the clutch is under more strain. Um, yeah, those things are real, and I think the seeking advice, whether it's professional advice or through the podcast or the Jeep Club, or asking people that kind of know, um, it's important. And if you make an adjust, make a change, it can impact the way your Jeep performs. And so maybe you do need to adjust some things, or make upgrades in other areas. And sometimes it's tough, financially it's tough, and time wise it's tough. And can you do the work yourself, or do you need to pay somebody to do that? um it it's I get it. Yeah, yeah, that's a real consideration. um yeah, community advice has saved me a lot of headache. You guys know that I ask questions. I rely on, you know, Billy. I rely on, people here on the board. I rely on my friends. Um, and I think it's important that you ask people and go, hey, if I do this, will it change? What's the thing I need to do to make up for it? Um, oh, you just got the YJL grill. Oh, nice. From unofficial use only. Yeah, dude, that's a great mod. Um, I like the fact that you're first of all, you have the JL Islander, which is a great color and it's a retro looking. But to do that grill, that might be nice with the square headlights. I'll like it. I can't wait to see it. Um, the next area, um, and I kind of, when I first started looking at this, I wanted to look at getting rooftop tent, and I thought the overlanding look was the direction I wanted to go. And because I love camping, I love jeeping. Matter of fact, my buying my Jeep got me back into camping, because it got me more connected being outdoors. But my mind changed on my approach to that. Was I going to build an overlanding rig with rooftop tent and all that stuff? And what I realized is there's a couple things. I need to pee in the middle of the night, and so I'm not going to try to climb down some set of ladder or whatever to go pee in the middle of the night. It's not going to happen. The second thing is, I don't want to have to break down camp every time I want to go wheeling, or be out on the trail with added you know top heavy weight, or my tent on top. I just there's enough trees and limbs in this area that I didn't want to be bothered with that. So I kind of um pivoted on that, and really I'm still into the camping out of my Jeep. I love going camping, and then off-roading, at minimum a couple times a year. I've got a plan right now with, first of the summer is Lexi and I are going to go disappear for a week, and we're going to go camping, and then we'll go wheeling at one point. But I think my Jeep is my way to get out there, right? Sean, you want me to climb a ladder after too many adult sodas? Yeah. Or be off the top of the roof? No. I would be the guy who falls from that, because my sense of balance after a adult sodas, no, I don't want to fall from there. And that is definitely not for me. If it's for you, kudos. I love it. Um, or if you have, a rooftop tent on a vehicle that you're going to leave at camp, cool. But for me, I just, it's not, it's not, no, just no with the overlanding and camping setup that's mobile on your vehicle. Throw a Gazelle inside your Jeep, great. Toy hauler, great. Um, and then um, the next couple of things I kind of threw, um, changed my mind on more lift equals better. I always thought that 3.5, 4, 5 inch lift would be the way I want to go. I think my Jeep is a little tall because I netted about 4 inches out of this 3.5 inch rock collar kit. I it makes it a little tall, um, but I don't. I can wheel with it. I wheel with it like crazy. I like it, but I would rather have a little more low center of gravity. Um, so I think that's where I'm at with that. I've changed my mind. A well bit 2.5 or a 3 inch lift beats a sloppy 6 inch lift every time. For me, it's more about the quality and the ride and the articulation rather than just height generated from a lift. Um, I thought I was building the Jeep for me, and it kind of changed my mind about that a little bit. Um, I was building it for adventure, and it 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 kind of has changed throughout the years based on the people around me. My knowledge has changed. Um, the way I use my Jeep has changed, and so for me, um, it's changed as much as I've wanted it to, and it's kind of grown with me through this journey. My Jeep's almost 8 years old. It'll be 9 years old this year. Um, and it's been through a lot. It doesn't look anything at all like it did the day I bought it. I love to compare that. Yeah, the rock crawler springs always sit tall. They do, and I've had them on before. Um, but don't get me wrong, I love the way it rides. And then I've got all the GBX stuff. Thanks, Glenn, and um, it just all works extremely well. My Jeep, for what it is, on 37s, it rides like a dream. I've got some stuff to do to it. I've got a list going, um, but it rides like a dream, and I wouldn't. Where it is now, I'm extremely happy with it. Changing lifts is not something you want to do. You definitely want to make sure you get that right the first time, Sean. And to be honest with you, I kind of agree with that. I didn't take that approach. This is my fifth lift on this Jeep. And I think, knowing what I know now versus back then, this is the way to go. 100%, this is the lift to go. Um, I think there's like three lift companies that you're going to be really really good quality wise. Um, but I kind of went the long way to get here. A cheap lift, upgrade cheap lift, a first rock crawler series, then an experimental lift, and then what I currently have with RK Springs, with Fox 2.0 reservoirs, and the GBX stuff. It's off the charts. But that's not where I started, and if I could recommend that to people, hey, let's be smart about our first lift, and let's kind of do things the right way, which is that's what I do for work now, is kind of help people make that decision. And so it's the whole saying is buy once, cry once. That's for real, right? It's for real. Um, and here's some rapid fires for us. And these are opinions I used to like hold strong to. Um, and the first one is manual is the only real Jeep. Uh, it, I have an automatic, and I got to a point when I bought this Jeep, I thought I've always had a manual Jeep, and I'm gonna get this manual. And then I just remembered traffic sucks, and I knew that I was going to be driving this Jeep continually, um, and my daily, and so I didn't want to be in traffic with a manual. I didn't want to be out on no trail with a manual. I don't have anything to prove. I can drive a stick shift. I taught my daughter how to drive a stick shift, but man, no, I changed my mind. Automatic is the way to go. Absolutely the way to go. And I'll fight you. I won't fight you. I'll give you a hug and then set you straight. Um, Angry eyes are not my cup of tea. I didn't change my mind on this. That's still not my cup of tea. I have the 7 slots. Bring it. Um, so if you have angry eyes, okay, cool. They're not for me. I may give you a hard time about it and say you're angry, but it's not for me. I would never put that on my Jeep. So I didn't change my opinion on that. The other is, all my other Jeeps are 2 doors, and 4 doors are not real Wranglers or Jeeps. Yeah, my Jeep's real, and it's for real, and it has 4 doors. I know so many great vehicles that are 4 doors that, you know, they're great, and that's what Jeep sells. They sell very few 2 doors. I did bring a 2 door home to give it a try, and man, even though I'm the only one that rides in it most of the time, I still need all the extra room. I like having a 4 door. I don't like to fight and to get to the back seat, and I think if I had a 2 door, I would take the back seat out anyway. But I don't want to fight to get back into the storage area. Open up that back door, and that's the way to go. Um, you painted angry eyes back in the day. Love it. Um, the JL manual, and I think Trisha, you were talking about this. The clutch in those are just they're not great. Um, and I know there's recalls, and they can't even get parts for them for the recalls. It's not good. And I think um and the 4 door and the automatic, maybe I'm driving a lifted minivan, I don't know, but it isn't. It's for real. Now, um one of my first kind of thoughts was, why would somebody buy a Jeep and never take it off road? And so I was always on the thing about mall crawlers are pointless. And after, spending a lot of time in a parking lot of a mall, it's that's where it is when I'm shopping. That's where it is when I was doing work at the time. But they're not pointless. I would, if somebody owns a Jeep and they never take it off road and they just enjoy driving it, kudos to you. Do it. Um, and now I realize, let people enjoy the rigs, with one exception. And Kate, you're right. We know that you love the Grumpers. No, I don't. Um, it, I will give everyone that has one of those a hard time. It just no, no. Um, yeah, it's to a point. Yeah, you need a 4-door for kids getting kids in and out of 2 doors. Man, no, just no. Troy, what's happening? Um, 2-door wheels better in the woods. I think to a certain extent you're right, but the longer the wheelbase, there's some climbs that are easier um, with the longer wheelbase, and even longer, with the JT. I think there's some really, and I think everything. When you look at a TJ versus an LJ, the LJs tended to wheel better because they had that longer wheelbase. 4 doors means more camping supplies. Couldn't agree more. Um, yeah, for sure. You have a little more room back there than in your RTT. Um, and I think you're right, Glenn. Both lifestyles shows and wheeling, and as somebody who does that, um, it's great to have both. And I want my Jeep to look good, and I think it's a great looking Jeep from 1,000 miles away. It's a lot like me. I look good from a long ways away, and then my Jeep is the same way. But if you get up close to it, you can see all the scars. Um, and those kits that remove the rear seats and replace them with storage, I agree, and it kind of flattens everything out so you can throw an air mattress on there. I like that idea. Matter of fact, I actually looked into it because there's one out there that will remove either the 60 or 40 side of it and add storage and leave a rear seat functionality back there. I like those as well. What's up, Matthew? Glad you could join it. Jeeps are Jeeps. Everyone enjoys them their own way. Troy, you're 100% correct on that and nailed it. And that's the perfect thing to wrap up with, because I think Jeep life is just one long series of learning and accepting and seeing what you like. I think Sean said it earlier. Plan your build, and I kind of did that with that image that I put on my background. I realized that maybe a couple years ago, I surpassed that, and because that build was 35s on a 2.5 or 2 inch rather. It was the Mopar lift, but the idea was still there from the beginning. And so it's okay to change your mind. And, it's always right after you already spent money on something, right? I just bought 35s, but I want 37s. But, it'll keep you interesting. So if you have something that kind of changed with you, or you want to talk about your build, throw me an email. We're always looking for those emails. info@jeeplifepodcast.com. If you know somebody that's going to be a great guest, I've already got a good list started, and everybody's lining up to get on. Tell us who you'd like to have on the show. It's always good to kind of add to that list. I love it. And, like I said, next week we're going to have the folks from Steer Smarts on. I can't wait to have them on. And then, we're looking for sponsors for 2026. We're looking for monthly, quarterly, yearly spots. So somebody could be our presenting sponsor, or maybe a monthly sponsor, or quarterly sponsor. give them our email address, info@jeeplifepodcast.com. Go out and check out our link tree that has all of our links, including our Patreon, our YouTube, and soon our PowerTube TV link, which I'm really excited about getting that rolling. And I'm excited for that. That's going to wrap it up for tonight's episode. Thanks for everybody to tuning in live, commenting, participating. We've had such great participation tonight. As always, you guys are who makes this show happen, and I appreciate it so much. Our thanks to you guys for supporting us. Thanks to our partners, Armalite, Pipes Exhaust, Alpine Audio, Power Tank, Tyree Lighting. You know, keep those Jeeps rolling, and I'll catch you until next time. Until then, here's a big Jeep wave, everybody. Oh yeah, that'll be good with a seat delete and armor light. I love it. Sean, yeah, I got it through. The website came through. Thank you, and I'll respond. I think I said earlier I owe a couple people, just been slammed. Yeah, Steer Smart's the way to go. Thanks, Alan. It was a fun show, and I appreciate it. Steer Smarts makes the best tie rod ends. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier with some GBX in the mix. That's always the killer combo, right? That's right, Jed. Yep. Thanks, Sandra. Adam, I appreciate it. Thanks, man. I'm hitting up the ibuprofen as soon as we get off air. All right. See you, Nick. Bye, everybody.